Hi everyone, Helen here. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, today I want to talk about how I've created the background on both of these pages. I was on YouTube a while ago and I came across a watercolor that was very interesting to me, and I thought I would buy it and have a bit of a play with it. And it's what I've used to create these dappled techniques. It's a pretty exciting product, I think, because it creates this really unique look. So I've used it underneath here to create the spray on the clouds to make them look like, I think, a brewing storm, to create the water effect, and to create the, let's get it, the background sort of dappled colour that you can see through the flowers and in the background of this particular page. Now, rather than swatching everything out, I'm just going to show you quickly how they work. I've got a couple of spray bottles here. This one tends to leave a bit of a gap in the centre, but it sprays more, and this one doesn't have much water, so it doesn't last for very long. So these are the paints. So they're called Brusho. They're a watercolour crystal. I believe that they're a dye. So they do go through on the pages. I'll show you the back of one of the pages in a minute. But they have such cool, unique effects. Like it would take me ages to create the same sort of effects with pencil or paint or anything else, whereas this just does it with a single spray. So they weren't set up with the swatch on the top, so I've created those using a hole punch and just taping it to the top. And I've also put these push pins in the top as well to be able to sprinkle out the crystals. You could lift off the lid and sprinkle it, but it is really, really effective in small amounts. So I'm just going to show you just by tapping out a little bit like that. I'll move that out the way. Now this one is leaf green. If I spray that, look at how all those colours just travel. It's just amazing. You can come back in and you can sprinkle a bit more if you want to. You can spray first if you want and then sprinkle. Let's try this olive green. So I don't think that's as effective. Like, you still get a pretty cool splitting of the colours, but that's how you really get, I think, the impressive results. So I'll show you one or two more colours. This is going to start to spread a bit because there's water on the page. These are my favourites out of the set that I got. Like, it's just amazing. How cool would that be if you were doing like a jellyfish or something and you could just spray that underneath to create your base kind of tendrils and then add your colour work on top of it. One of the coolest ones is black. It does not come out how you expect that it would. It's really, really cool. Let's just try a sprinkle over here. A little bit of water, and I can show you that it will just mix into a solid colour. If I was mixing this, I would mix it on a ceramic palette first before using it. So this was the effect that I wanted to experiment with on my colouring pages. So now that I've done that, I'll show you a swatch chart. So you can see here I sprinkled them just as I showed you, sprinkled them and then sprayed them. So this was the effect that I got. On this one, I brushed water just with a brush onto the piece of paper and then sprinkled on top. And you can see the difference in how the colour reacts. This tends to give you more extreme kind of spatter. Here it's also can be a little bit harder to control your level of water. And this is with the colours mixed together. Now, I didn't mix them in a palette. I just sprinkled a little bit on here and got a wet brush and just brushed over them. And you can see they mix into solid colours. I'm not really interested in them that way. I'm interested in using them this way. So now that you've seen those, you can probably see a little bit more how I should have marked this page, shouldn't I? How I've created the backgrounds for this page. So my page was completely blank, and I just sprinkled on the powders where in sort of clusters of things. So here the clouds, and sprayed the water over the top and just let it do what it liked. And down here I've used, I know I've definitely used this one, and I think I've also sprinkled in, yeah, I've used these three, I think. Here, just a little bit of the blue here and there. And I really love it. I think if you pick which types of elements you're going to use it on, it can be really, really effective. Here it just sort of looks like water moving. It looks like the clouds are kind of just ready, to me anyway, to burst with rain, because they've just got all these kind of activity around them. So yeah, I found it really interesting. And then in this one, my approach was to actually sprinkle where the flowers were, and then spray. And then later on, I moved out to the other areas. Down here was actually, on this one, I've used the purple. Down here, I used, I think it was this leaf green, but I didn't like the colour contrast with the purple, so I ended up going over the top with blues and greens. Now, I've done something else on the back where I used a lot of water, so I've actually wrinkled up this page a bit. And I also applied the sprays after I painted out the background with acrylic paint. So you can see here the coverage is actually quite good. With pencils, you can cover over quite well. I wanted this effect here, so I haven't done a lot, if any, pencil where I've had these splotches on the flowers. But here I really wanted to cover up this brighter green because, as I said, it was just clashing. So it worked out quite well. I didn't have to do any kind of blocking out. I just coloured straight over the top with some nice waxy pencils. So I'll show you on my other one how it does come through the page. So this is something just like markers or whatever you're going to have to work around. I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem because, as I showed you before, the pencils cover quite well. So I think that I'll be able to cover this over if I decide to do these pages. And on this side, you can see again, this is an underwater scene, so I don't think it's going to cause too much of an issue for me, but it is definitely something to be aware of. And as I said, I don't know, the whole makeup of them, but I do believe that they're a dye. So anyway, I hope that was useful for you. You can kind of chalk this one up to another background technique. And yeah, really, really fun to play with. I think that these are a very exciting medium, and there's not a lot of mediums that we get that are like super exciting that you can sprinkle on and spray water and it just transforms, and I love that. It makes me really enthusiastic about playing with them, which I love. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I really hope you'd consider liking or subscribing because it's going to help out my channel, and it's also going to let me know that you're enjoying the content that I'm creating. Thanks so much. See you next time. Bye.